Shot the yellow.
Entrepreneurship, it's our game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up.
Welcome back. That's right. Episode number 5, the Big Potato Podcast, Season 2. And we're here, Stuart and Kendell, for yet another insightful, entertaining, and thought-provoking episode. And what an episode we have in store for you guys tonight. Boy, oh boy, can't wait to get into it tonight. Episode 5, Stuart, what's up, bro?
Yeah, I'm great. Season 2, episode 5. We weren't able to do an episode last week, there was a little issue with my co-host health, with COVID, so we had to push it off a little bit, but we're back. I know you all were anxiously awaiting this episode. So we're here on the job, ready to go, bring some more information, and we have a great guest.
Yeah, when we're talking guests tonight, telling you guys, we can't be talking about all this Gen Z entrepreneurship and not have a Gen Z guest on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight, we're bringing it to you live. But before we get to that, of course, got to encourage you guys, as usual, to continue supporting us. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Make sure you check out the Big Potato Podcast on Spotify and YouTube for all the episodes, all the great content, all the information, and also follow us on the social media platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, you name it, we are there. Send us an email at thebigpotatopodcast@gmail.com for any information or questions that you may have. All right, so let's get into tonight. Tonight, my friends. As I said, our guest is a young man. Called himself old while we were talking off air. And I was wondering, well, what he would leave for us, boy Stuart? What he would really leave for us if he calling himself old?
If he old, right? I don't know what I am. I guess I used to play marbles with Moses.
I would like to say at the very tender age of 28 years old, hailing all the way from Moruga. Yeah, Moruga is love in Trinidad and Tobago. He's the founder, even at 28 years old, a founder of a business already called EcoWash, the first water conservation car wash in Trinidad and Tobago. Get this, using just 2 liters of water per car. We'll hear more about that later for sure. He's an innovator. He's a business developer. Even developed a compact mobile unit that washes up to 20 cars without any external water or electricity. Talk about innovation. He's also a social impact leader, empowering young people from vulnerable communities by providing them with opportunities to manage their own EcoWash units. So you know what that sounds like to me? Franchising. He's doing that as well. My, what impact he's creating. He's been recognized locally, regionally, and internationally. He's been the winner of the top innovation at the World Congress in 2023 in Switzerland. He's the recent recipient of the National Youth Awards in Trinidad and Tobago. He is UNDP Green Innovative Challenge winner and Green Entrepreneur of the Year. I mean, the accolades just rolling through. International reach, global reach. People are reaching out to him worldwide, from Morocco, South Africa, Italy, all around the world. Definitely a visionary on a mission. Let me take the opportunity to welcome to the Big Potato Podcast tonight, Mr. Dareem Jeffrey. Dareem, what's up?
Hey, Stuart. Hey, Kendell. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
The old man.
Yeah, the old man, the old guy. I mean, just to put that into context, you were referring to when you deliver speeches at schools and so on, right?
Yeah. Speaking at different secondary schools and different foundations, they definitely look at you as you're much older than what your age prescribes to you.
It also says that, you have a different level of maturity. And clearly we could see that by all that you've done. So we're very happy to have you.
Yeah, and also I myself feel old because remember when you're back in school and people come in to give speeches and they always tell you, enjoy your childhood, adulthood, and pressure. And now I'm going to schools telling them, enjoy all your childhood.
I'm telling you.
Pressure. So it's definitely come full circle.
Full circle moments, my friend.
And very quickly, that circle comes quickly.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you have definitely achieved a lot in your 28 years here. And I would like to firstly congratulate you on all that you've done and continue to do.
Thanks for that, man.
Yeah, man, we have to keep it pumping. Now, let's jump inside our first segment because I know we're eager to talk to Dareem. But of course, as usual, we have our What Caught Our Eye segment, which is just quick entrepreneurial insights on stories or articles that we may have seen over the last few weeks. Stuart?
Well, what caught my eye for this episode, I mean, as usual, there are many things going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to really choose one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today is the 1st of October. Just yesterday, the budget was read for Trinidad. So I could dive into that, or I could dive into the strikes, the dock worker strikes in America.
Oh boy.
And all of the conflict in the Middle East, which combined will have an effect and an impact on our shipping for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go with something more positive. And I guess to go positive after come Caribbean.
Of course.
After come Caribbean for positivity, for that sunshine. So this is really an article which I found on UWE's website, UWE Cavill's website. It's about Barbados launching the first bio-CNG vehicle powered by sargassum, seaweed. That thing that we complain about, we're being invaded with this seaweed. Well, they were able to convert that, repurpose the seaweed, combined with other chemicals and power a vehicle. So that caught my eye because firstly, it shows a lot of innovation in being able to take something that is readily available that others may overlook and convert that into a valuable resource. It also shows that the Caribbean, we have intelligent people here. This was done in Barbados under UWE. So we have experts, we have specialists in these fields, and it will give us some optimism as a Caribbean person that we have a future, we have a place in the future. So to keep it brief, that's what caught my eye. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a massive piece of innovation coming together from Miss Henry. Crazy enough, about 3 weeks ago, I was in Port of Spain and I was in a pitch showcase. And we actually sat next to each other.
Right.
And we were just chatting and she brought up the fact that she's moving in that green technology and powering cars with sargassum and also waste from rum distilleries.
Yes.
And I was like, this is such a crazy idea.
Mm-hmm.
So now 3 weeks forward to actually see it on the papers and that it's launched, it just shows that we as small island developing states definitely have the solution to a lot of the world's problems, but also our own problems.
Fantastic. I mean, you said it all there. In terms of my thoughts on it as well, look at where this innovation is emanating from. As you said, Stuart, we need to bring it back to the Caribbean, bring it back to the warmth, and to have an island as Barbados. And I mean, most people in the region would know that Barbados, especially when it comes to alternative energy and sustainable energy solutions, they definitely look for solutions in that direction. So check it out, folks. It is powered by seaweed, bioenergy. And it's a fantastic initiative. Just think about it. An entire industry could be built off of this, and probably will be built off of this in the future. Entrepreneurs out there, you know what is my favorite word?
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Don't let anything go to waste.
And the other thing, just to, add to what we're discussing here. A lot of people will see the Caribbean, and as we said, you come to the Caribbean for that warmth, that sunshine. But they deliberately made the decision to try to find a source of energy that was not solar based. People just assume you're surrounded by water, so let's do something water based, or sun always shining in the Caribbean, let's use the solar energy. But they went in a whole different direction, and I just applaud them. I applaud the risk they took and the vision that they're trying to really, again, with the green, sustainable push. I'm so happy and overjoyed by the initiative.
I'm telling you, looking in areas that are not heavily inundated. As Stuart said, not looking at solar alone, even though we have a rich abundance of sunshine, but looking at bioenergy solutions as well. And I'll take the opportunity to segue into what caught my eye this week. And it's actually an article on Forbes, and it says why Gen Z is thriving in the entrepreneur life. Pretty short read, maybe about 2 minutes, so you could check it out. Written back by Mark Perner, and it was actually contributed on June 18th, so it's pretty recent as well. Now, he started off giving a story that he was on a flight to Phoenix, and he ended up in a conversation with two 17-year-olds, a twin. And basically, they could not have been more different. One was really a top-notch student, and the other one was highly entrepreneurial. Now, we're not saying, just to make the definition quite clear here, that entrepreneurs are not top-class students as well. But I think what he was more alluding to is the fact that the top-class student was already heading in the direction of going down the traditional path. While the brother, at even 17 years old, was a tremendous entrepreneur who already owned his car business, a car wash business. Now, I'll skip through the article and get to some stats here, because this is what I really want to get to. So he went on to talk about a survey from WP Engine, finding that 62% of Gen Zers had plans to start a business. And this was in 2020. We are now in 2024. So those numbers have increased. For more recent research, Skweird puts the number even higher at 84%. So you're talking about 84% of Gen Zers who want to own their own company in the future. Let's get down into some more stats. 72% believe times have been economically tougher for them than earlier generations. Maybe so. But guess what? That is not stopping them from wanting to start their own business. Close to 40% employ 5 people or more. It says that they are also highly interested in helping those around them. 45% of them are using their own savings to get their business off the ground. Entrepreneurship 101, Stuart, you had to be all in.
Very much so.
80% launched their business online or had a mobile component, while another 46% began with a physical location. Now, they are doing the thing. Obviously, these numbers would have been taken from more of a US perspective in terms of the research data, but the trends are generally the same in all parts of the world based on the research. Now, entrepreneurship, especially for Gen Zs, is not just about the money. They're also very high, as Stuart spoke about in his What Quarter Side, on sustainability, on environmentally friendly businesses and practices. So Dareem, I put you in the Gen Z category. That's why when I saw this article last year, we had to bring this to the fore.
Mm-hmm.
Anything about those stats, and especially about the focus of Gen Z entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think for my generation, 3 things we look for in life. 1 is respect, 2 is appreciation, and 3 is fulfillment. And I think more and more we are willing to take that risk to find fulfillment. And one thing I realize that's very different with us is that we want to take persons along that journey with us. We want to have that impact within our circles. So it's not a matter of owning a sole trader and it's just me alone in the company. I want to actually impact my community. And I'm happy that the stats are showing that, because being on the ground and speaking to entrepreneurs, the stats definitely reflect true to what actually is going on in the minds of young persons.
Fantastic. And I mean, when we talk about sustainability, and we spoke about it even with the last article as well, what's your view in terms of more sustainable and environmentally conscious practices? Obviously, your business starts with eco, right?
Yeah. I think one thing that's happening, and I think it's a big revolution, is that we aren't adding we're not just adding sustainability to our business. We are making sustainability our business.
Mm-hmm.
So, say for example, my car wash, we aren't just washing cars more eco-friendly, but we are also offering these services to companies to allow them to achieve their environmental KPIs and ESGs. So you find that this generation of entrepreneurs that's coming up now are not just solving problems within their own businesses, but creating businesses that's solving the environmental problems for other businesses. So sustainability is definitely at the heart. And I think even as we move on with incubators and agencies like YBTT Youth Business Trinidad, the trainings are heavily built on having sustainability be part of your business model. So the trainings that's going on right now in the entrepreneurial space are heavily built on adding that sustainability element to it. So it's definitely reflecting true.
Fantastic. Stuart?
I think the interview started already,
Yeah.
All right. Well, based on what you just said, in terms of the word courtyard, more focus on that, right? One thing that stuck out to me was the 72% that believes times are harder now than in previous generations. Again, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Now, I don't know if you remember this, Kendell. It would have been a couple months, 9 months, probably a year back, when we started to see all of these ads on TV. Buy this meal, you'll have enough for leftovers. You could, eat 2 days. You could share it. They brought out the Pepsi Minis. They basically was signaling that customer disposable income was not as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, when a necessity comes and you see all of these hard times, generally, people like to see how they could solve the problem for themselves. And again, younger persons, Gen Zs, on the whole, they will be more prone to risk because they're younger. They will be more prone to following idealistic ambitions. And, all of these things would be entrepreneurial traits. So just based on that one stat alone, I could understand why so many Gen Zs will want to partake in entrepreneurship. We even discussed this a couple episodes ago. So it's expected when we discuss about Latin America and how challenging things are in the Caribbean, and that's why Latin America is one of the highest rates of entrepreneurship in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was a similar discussion we had about people having to work 2 jobs and all of these things. So entrepreneurship is just a natural leap And again, since we're discussing Gen Zs, younger people, they naturally have the traits, again, to take these risks, to bootstrap, because, at 17, 18 years old, it's highly unlikely you're going to get financing from the bank like that, right? So that's the other stat you gave in terms of how many of them were using their own funds to start their own businesses and so.
Yep.
So it all ties together.
I think what's also happening, Stuart and Kendell, is with the age of technology and the savviness young persons have when it comes to that. For me, I started to think expansion because I've only recently started to expand the business outside of Trinidad's borders.
Right.
And it's only through flying I started to see how big the market actually is. But now you have a generation who is growing up and you are in Trinidad, but you have a friend in Australia that you communicate via TikTok with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing what's going on around the world. So I think their minds are able to grasp more easily the size of the market and understanding that the world is a village. And as a village, you talk to your neighbors. For me, it's now getting into that motion and understanding that there is a bigger world out there when they are born into this whole global perspective. So I think they're way more prone to take the risk because to them, the opportunities are limitless as it stands right now.
Quite true. Fantastic point. And very insightful, because entrepreneurs, young people out there who are not entrepreneurs as yet. Let me just read this from Deloitte's Global Gen Z survey. 65% of Gen Z entrepreneurs say that they start a business with the goal of solving social and environmental issues, indicating a strong inclination towards purpose-driven businesses, just as Stuart said, and just as Dareem said as well, so eloquently.
Well, Dareem, could you just remind us of those 3 key issues that Gen Z look at when going into business?
Gen Zs are definitely looking for respect, appreciation, and fulfillment.
Purpose-driven.
And again, I think of things differently. And I ask that because it's like the tip of the Maslow theory of needs. You're all more focused on that tip, that actualization, not really on the shelter, the food, the necessities of life. You're all focused on the idealistic things.
We aren't.
Which is good. It shows that civilization has progressed past the focus on those needs. Most of those needs hopefully have been already covered, which allows the Gen Zs to have a good time.
Correct is right.
Yeah, and I honestly think also, and this is in no way throwing shade at my fellow Gen Zs and stuff, but I think one of the things youths look for is that level of attention. And that's why you can be how broke, but you're going to go to certain parties or restaurants just to get that Instagram photo to post, so you're going to look like you ain't thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of Gen Zs, whether it be a right agenda or not, are realizing also that you could get that attention from having social impact. You could get that level of appreciation and respect from your peers and from older persons when you actually are changing lives or having that impact in communities. When you look at Miss Thornburn and all these persons who are doing a lot of stuff in the eco-friendly spaces, now everybody knows their names in households. Those persons who are standing up against the big giants in the business world that really affecting and causing climate change. You have Gen Zs getting that level of attention that they crave through social impact. So I'm not saying that their motives aren't pure, or some of their motives aren't pure, but it's definitely showing them that you could get attention from having noble causes.
Definitely so.
So it's not just going to the restaurant to get the Instagram. You can actually, you find persons now feeding the poor and assisting homeless persons, whether their agenda is right or not, whether they're just looking for the attention on social media or not, or they really want to help. They're seeing that, oh, this is another realm that I can go into and still get the same fulfillment as if I go to a restaurant and take that Instagram pic. So I realize now that there has been a surge in TikTok videos of persons doing kind acts.
Right.
So we're moving away from the Instagram pics at the restaurant,
Yeah.
or at this fancy vacation, and now we're moving into let's do good deeds and still get the same attention and fulfillment.
Yes, my only thing is, coming from an older person, the left hand and the right hand should know what each other doing, you know, when they're doing charity. You're really old. No, but it's true, you know, at least from my perspective, my generation, you know, when you're doing charity. Not for the likes, not even for anybody to know, you know, but there's a different perspective. And I would like to get the data 10 years from now on this same Gen Z, if their views have changed. I would like to see as they grow older, as reality slaps them around a little bit, if they're still as idealistic or if anything changes.
Yeah, I think one thing with this generation is that we are a generation of trends. And my thing is, I'm hoping that sustainability is something that's spoken about decades from now also, because the next big thing to come up is where we're going to sway over to. So I'm hoping that this conversation lasts for a while.
I do too. And I could tell you, Stuart, what is our favorite social entrepreneurship?
The Big Potato Podcast.
That's right, my friends. That's our kind and social act to assist Gen Z in understanding the ins and outs, the wrongs, above and belows of entrepreneurship. And on that note, we take a short break. That's what caught our eye this week. Whether you're seeking guidance or solutions for your business, we're here to help. Contact us via IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. That's IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. And let's discuss how we can collaborate for your success. And we're back on the Big Potato Podcast. What an episode we have tonight. Episode kicked off with pure fire. Telling you, a Gen Z entrepreneur masterclass is happening here tonight with Dareem Jeffrey. We're so glad to have him online. And a lot of people, you'd have heard Dareem speak in the last segment, and you're probably wondering right now, who is Dareem? Where does Dareem Jeffrey just came from? He from Moruga? He from Trinidad? He has this business. So Dareem, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Where did this start? I saw somewhere that even from single digits, you already had an entrepreneurial spirit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my journey has been it feels like it's been decades, but my business right now is only at a 3-year mark. So it's still a pretty young business. It's still within the considered a startup based on the age of the business, but the levels to where we are taking it right now has definitely exceeded the startup title. So my entrepreneurial journey, well, the mindset itself started from a very young age. I grew up with a very young mother, and we grew up not so privileged, let's put it that way. And I've seen my mother do whatever she needs to do to make ends meet. So we actually grew up selling in the market. We used to sell cassava punch. So we would make normal punch, but the base of the punch was cassava. And we would go to the markets every Sunday selling this punch, and not understanding that is shaping my subconscious mind to understand the power of entrepreneurship and how it allows you to make ends meet. And at the age of 17, I had to leave home, and I made my way from Moruga and I settled at St. Augustine. And I remember when I started to live in St. Augustine, I found the cheapest apartment I could have found because I had no money and I did not have the support from my family financially. And I remember when I reached that apartment late in the night, I had no sheets, towels, curtains, nothing like that. And when I dipped in my pocket, I had $28. And that's all I had to enter into my life of this thing called what we call adulthood. And struggling. I was starving. I was hungry. I couldn't buy food. I remember I bought that $28, and I bought a couple of bus tickets, and I bought a pack of cricks. And for almost a week and a half, I ate 5 cricks a day, and that what held me up for a while. And when I realized that things were not getting better, I started what we know in South Trinidad to be a caddy boy. Apparently, you know what a caddy boy is, those guys on the golf course with you, but that's not what we know it as. In South, a caddy boy is that runner boy who would go to the shop for you and the parlors, and you'll give him your little pocket change or keep the change. And that's what I did. When I moved to the dorm in St. Augustine, I remember when things got really bleak, I would knock on people's doors and I would tell them, I'm going on the road to buy a hot dog. If you want a hot dog, give me $5 and I'll bring back one for you. And I didn't have $5 to buy a hot dog. And I would hope that these people will, pay me to go get the hot dog for them. And that way I might be able to accumulate some funds to actually eat when the day comes. And that's how I started in entrepreneurship. I did that for a little over 10 months. And that's how I survived. And after about 2 months, I got a job and so forth. But I continued doing that small, minuscule side hustle. And that business started to go so well, Stuart and Kendell. I picked up the steam when it comes to it, to the point where I actually went to legal affairs and I registered a business called Jeffrey's Delivery Service. That's how serious I was taking this thing.
Wow.
And my tagline was JYS, Jeffrey at your service. I have a full business plan from 10 years ago creating this thing. And
wow.
as I was telling some youths the other day, destiny definitely leaves clues. Because my name is Dareem Jeffrey, and a lot of people may not know, but there's a show called Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and the butler, his name was Jeffrey. So when I registered this business, my logo for the business was actually a butler, and people will come to my dorm room and they will knock and they would say, Jeffrey! And I was so happy to hear that, because I know, hey, you're going to make a couple of dollars and you could live for next day. And that's how entrepreneurship started with me. And it went so well that after 10 months, I bought my first car.
Wow.
Fresh out of home 10 months later, after crying for 10 months straight because I couldn't understand why I was struggling on this level. Yes, you're making ends meet, but you didn't think that adulthood would have been this, and this is how you would have entered it. So after 10 months, I actually bought my first car. The guy wanted $31,000 for it. I cut him down to $27,000 because the side hustle was paying my very small rent and allowing me to eat, and then I would save my cash from the small job I got at the airport. And when I bought that car, expanded the business, I started doing rideshare before it had rideshare in Trinidad. People who knew that I was working at the airport would call me and say, my aunt is coming in, drop her down south for me, I'll give you a 300. And I did that for a while, and I closed that business after some time when I settled myself financially. And because I was working night shift at the airport, there was 2 times that I fell asleep on the highway while driving. Didn't get an accident. While I was drifting off the road, persons would blow their horn, and that's how I got up both times. And I closed the business after a while. But in 2018, when there was this massive nationwide flood, at that point I was living St. Helena. And that flood was so bad, I lost everything. I couldn't go home for 2 days because the roads were impassable. So when I did reach to my apartment in St. Helena, my fridge was swimming in my living room, bed destroyed, couch destroyed, everything destroyed. And for me, even though I lost everything in that flood, even losing my job, because my boss actually fired me because I could not come to work for a couple of days because I could not go home, and lost everything. And even though it was a sad moment, it reminded me so much of when I was back at the age of 17. At that point, I was 23, I think, when that flood happened. But it reminded me of when I was 17 and how I had nothing and just had to figure things out. So the first thing that came to my mind was, I need to start a business. And decided, what business do I want to start? And I always had a love for car washing. I have no passion for cars. I have no passion for car washing per se. But I understood that it was a cash cow in the sense that there are a lot of cars on the nation's roads. There's over 1 million registered cars in Trinidad. We have a little over 300,000 registered license holders, so that's equivalent of 3 cars per person in this country. We are not a poor nation. And so I knew I wanted to do something in car washing. So I remember the government at that point in time was giving out a $15,000 grant to help us to recover from the flood. And crazy enough, I did not get my grant after the flood. I got it a little over a year later.
Wow.
But through the grace of God, got a next job. Still struggling financially because you have to buy back stuff for place I slept on the ground for over a year. Just had a mattress on the floor. And in 2019, moving into 2020, finally got the grant from the government considering the flood. And a couple of months after, COVID-19 happened. That was 2020.
Timing, eh?
So I got the grant and I said to myself, that was right before COVID, that was around October, November of 2019. And I said to myself, Dareem, you could take this $15,000 and you could buy a nice microwave, buy a proper bed where you can sleep on and so forth. Or you could start a business that you'll never be in the position again where you have a boss just waking up one morning and deciding to relieve you of your job. And I started to put things in place to open a traditional car wash. COVID-19 happened. At that time, I was working Airports Authority in the Operational Logistics Department. And in around March, April, when COVID was in full swing and we were now starting to have that discussion about moving into lockdown, I lost my job at the airport. And for 8 months, I was unemployed. Car due for repossession, hiding from my landlord. Couldn't have enough cash I didn't have enough cash to, buy groceries as you would want. You have to buy those things that would stretch, so a lot of potato and cricks and these things. And I struggled for that 8 months. But while I was there and entrepreneurship and business was on my mind heavily, I remember I reached out to a couple of persons asking, where could I go to get some entrepreneurial training because I have an idea I want to develop. Found out about YBTT, decided to go to them, telling them, hey, I want to start a car wash because I know there's money in it, but I've never seen a car wash in Trinidad with a solid brand. You always see a car wash and they have one location. Why it is we don't have a chain of car washes owned by one person? So that's my mindset. I want to open a chain of car washes. And during the COVID-19 period, because it was such a different time for us as entrepreneurs, you were forced to think innovatively. How could I start a business in the midst of COVID when the country is going through lockdown and all these different things? So my first thing was going to start this car wash, but I'm going to offer vehicle sanitization because I need to be considered an essential service
Right.
so I can be out there making money. Because if you're not an essential service at that time, you cannot be out on the road.
Inside.
So I decided I'm going to open a car wash, and first thing we're going to offer is vehicle sanitization. Speaking to a couple of persons, we were actually liaising with Minister Marvin Gonzalez and also the Tunapuna Piaka Regional Corporation, where EcoWash was going to create a sanitization pit stop in Eddie Hard Ground.
Right.
So you could drive up under that tent, we sanitize the inside of your vehicle with the fog and stuff, and then you drive off. And putting things in place for that, boom, lockdown extended, more stringent measures put in place so we couldn't start that. And while there, saying to myself, going through the business model canvas and all these different things, and then YBTT created something called a sustainability canvas. So you're thinking differently, you're thinking COVID-19. And I said to myself, how could I bring a crazy level of distribution and a nice channel to bring the service to my customers? So I said, I need to open a car wash at the malls. They at the malls have a lot of foot traffic. How could I meet people to where they are? But the issue was, it's very expensive to build all that infrastructure in the mall. And secondly, the malls aren't even interested in you building a car wash on their property. But also, as I said, the fundamental fact was it was very expensive to tile off some wash bays, pressure washer, and these things.
Mm-hmm.
So starting to hone in on how could I bring this level of convenience to customers, and understanding that one, the water was one of the major issues. You can't have persons walking past your operation and slipping and falling and these things. So starting to do my investigation, looking at different innovative things that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that in Form 4 in chemistry class, we were doing a lab and we were doing a particular experiment in creating a soap. And being young and not following instructions, the experiment failed. So a lot of features of soap was missing from the final product of the experiment. And crazy enough, Stuart and Kendell, that same technology, that same product, that failed experiment, is exactly what we're using right now in EcoWash to run our operation. So a failed experiment in Form 4 in secondary school is what has won top innovation in the world, beating out 140 countries. So sent out my application to C3 Mall. They weren't biting because one, all the managers to make the decisions, they are off-site, who's out of the country because COVID is rampant. And then early November, they called and they said, we're ready for you to start. We're willing to take a chance on you. It's crazy. It's a crazy idea, but we're here for entrepreneurs. And on November 17th, I started EcoWash at C3 Mall. All that time, COVID is going crazy. And I had no money to start. I remember I took that 15,000. I started to build the pod that we started with our first EcoWash machine. So I had no money and the remainder of the cash went towards paying the first month's rent, security deposit, and you had to pay a small fee for legal documents and so forth. So that 15,000 is done. So here I have all permission to be in C3 and I have no money to build out the location, to build the kiosk or anything. And I went on a WhatsApp group with some persons I knew and I told them, I said, here's what. PriceMart has microfiber towels selling 25 microfiber towels in a pack for $100. If you guys buy microfiber towels for me, I promise you when the business starts, each person getting 2 free car washes from EcoWash. I was doing crowdfunding. So did that. 3 persons bought me packs of rags. One of my mentors from YBTT, he has a printery. He told me, he said, go upstairs. There's a couple of retractable banners there, you can take them. Had the retractable banners, no money to print it. And next mentor said, go to this guy, let him print it and tell him I will pay for the printing. So now I have retractable banners printed. My best friend, she said, I'm so proud of you for starting this business. Take one of my stools from my kitchen as a gift for starting a business. So I got a chair and I had a very small bean-shaped kiosk.
Right.
And that's how I started. I cried my first day because I was so ashamed of my setup. I think everybody who dreams of starting a business dreams of that business launch when you cut that ribbon and you have all the fanfare. And here I am starting a business where you don't even want persons to see the business because it's nothing fancy. Yes, you have an innovative business, but it's not living up to what you expected a business launch to look like. And I remember when I went on the 17th of October, my plan for that day was to speak to persons who were passing in the car park, telling them about the service. Because in my mind, I'm going to take a couple of weeks to get my first customer. Because I remember I went to an entrepreneurial institution in Trinidad and I told them, I said, I have a crazy idea. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wash cars with 2 liters of water. And I'll never forget the loans officer said, your machines have no value and we don't think anybody will use your service.
I think I know that company.
That place starts with an N by chance?
And ends with co.
Okay.
I just knew. But anyway, you see, innovation, they have challenges understanding business plans around innovation and new ideas.
Big time. So the loans officer told me your machines have no value, and we don't think anybody will use your service, so we are not giving you a loan.
Wow.
And that weighed on my mind heavily. Because one, these are the people who you think understands business. So if they're telling you that this is not going to work, and here you are taking such a big risk, you have no money. When the end of the month comes, you have a hefty rent to pay to the mall, and you're thinking about bringing on employees. How are you going to make ends meet? And you don't even have a plan B or a backup plan that says, well, I have some cash in the bank to pay my commitments. Nothing like that. So I remember I went the first day thinking to, just tell people, this is the service we're offering, and hoping that, in a couple of weeks, we'll get a couple of customers. I remember when I reached the other day, I borrowed my friend's van to carry down the machine. And while I was taking it off, at the side of the machine had mobile car wash. And a lady came up to me while I was taking it out of the van, and she said to me, "Are you guys washing cars in the mall?" So I'm thinking she's coming to confront me. But she asked, "Are you guys washing cars at the mall?" And I said, "Yes." And she pointed to her car and she said, "Look, my car over there. Go wash my car."
Customer number one.
I was ecstatic because here I am getting a sale.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm going to make $50 here, because at that point we were $50 for a car wash. You're going to wash, wax, and tire shine. And I was washing her car, and Kendell and Stuart, in the first 2 hours of being in C3, I washed 13 cars.
Fantastic.
In 2 hours. And I closed the business for the rest of the day. I took one of my friends who was there with me, and we went home because we were catching crap.
Wow.
We didn't even open the next day because we were in pain. And yeah, that's how we started off. 13 cars on the first day. In the last 2 years at C3, we washed over 84,000 cars. And this is from a business where they told me nobody is going to use your service, to now winning from that same organization, Green Entrepreneur of the Year last year.
Stuart, you hear the story?
Well, it's the typical story, yeah? But I'm glad when people come and they get a chance to express it. As my boy in Jamaica would say, express yourself.
Express yourself.
Express yourself. Come out and talk the truth. And again, not everybody will understand your vision as a founder. And a lot of these people who have the responsibility for these decisions, the extent of their understanding is to how to set up a business, not entrepreneurship. They don't understand the difference between business and entrepreneurship. So I am very proud of you, brother. Very, very proud of you.
You have come leaps and bounds. The resilience. I mean, so many adjectives, Stuart, we're talking about from day one on this podcast about the mindset, the characteristics of entrepreneurs, the resilience, the passion, the drive to thrive.
I want to harp on the resilience. Slept on the ground for a year. Every time he thought he was moving forward, there was a hurdle. But that never prevented him from taking on the challenge, jumping over those hurdles. And look at where he is now. Award winner.
Perseverance. Congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
And again, the importance of team, knowing how to network. Because he didn't have the resources. He had to bootstrap. He had to get those resources from the people within his network, friends, family, and fools, right? So he was able to get it done. Again, kudos to you, and we definitely will have to insert a round of applause in the edit.
Have to. This is a tremendous accomplishment, achievement, and your journey just continues. I feeling like I'm wrapping up the episode here already, Yeah. I am sold. But Dareem, I must say, I mean, we're not just trying to moisturize and to rub it in, but definitely that is a story of true entrepreneurship. So where you were, the journey, and where you've become. And I'm sure you could tell us a little bit now about some of the lessons that you learned along the way. Because let me be more specific in terms of those same moments of what some people will perceive as failure. Serious life challenges, not even business challenges, just survival. to even be able to continue, bounce back, as I said, and go again? What sort of inspiration or intrinsic motivation you have that really told you, here, what's going on? I can't stop now.
As it stands right now, honestly, Kendall, I think I'm in too deep. I have, I think, too much people waiting with bated breath to see what the next episode of this story is going to look like. I think there's a lot of youths who are looking on. When I've hired over 53 youths in the last 2 years, and a lot of them are coming from the foster care system.
Right.
So you have a lot of persons who are depending on you. 2 weeks ago, I hired a single mother. She has 4 kids, and they amputated her leg last year. So nobody wanted to hire her. So for me, as much as I am enjoying the journey now, it's only now I'm enjoying the journey. You also have so much persons depending on you to continue this story. So, but it has not been an easy road. I think starting the business, in my first year of business, in the first 12 months, I could have only operated for about 7 of those months because we went into 2 additional lockdowns.
Yes.
So every time you're thinking you're getting a break in this life, here comes something else. So in May of that year, we went in a lockdown. Every time you put on the TV or radio is as of midnight. So that was one of the most hated statements for me at that point in time, because you're eager to start, and every time you're building momentum, customers are accustomed seeing you on these different things in the car park. Then you go into a lockdown, so you're feeling as though you have to start from scratch. And when you're making money, now you have to spend your savings in just surviving those months of the lockdown. So the first year was really tough for me, and it also prohibited me from observing the trends. Because in the first 3 years, it was only once that we had experienced 2 Junes and 2 Julys,
Right.
to see what the trends are, because it was lockdown after lockdown. And then because I understood the struggle of not having a proper financial a standing at a young age, even when I went into lockdown and the business had to close for how much ever months, I was still paying my I had 2 workers at a point in time, still paying them their salaries and dropping hampers for them.
Wow.
Because I knew how tough it was for me at 17. And a lot of them, they were the breadwinners in their families. So it was a struggle. It was a really big struggle for, I would say, maybe the first 2 years. One, running the business on a whole, understanding money management, understanding that level of delayed gratification, and also understanding employees, because people will do you just as you would think that they wouldn't do you. And you can be how good with persons, you have to understand that at the end of the day, this is your business. And for me as a young business owner, and I'm on this journey and all these different things, I thought that others were along for the ride and they would be as passionate as me, even though it was my business. And I had to learn that early on, that, this is not all sunshine and roses. And I think being from the Southland, we have this disposition in life where everybody is family and is one love, and South is love. And living up in the East-West corridor, not saying East-West corridor people are bad, but their mentality isn't the same as South people. We would enter Maxi and we would say good morning. That's in the East-West corridor. That doesn't happen up here.
So I don't want to cut you off, but Kendall and I are both from the East-West corridor. And this line of conversation here, I really don't appreciate it. Sorry about that. I just have to
Well, you know what? I want to say he's right.
To that extent. We're not in the West.
He's right.
West people are different.
Yeah, but it was a challenge understanding, because for me, I grew up very introverted. All I would do is go to school and go back home. So interacting with persons on that level and spending time with persons and understanding customers, because even though I came from a background where my mother had small side hustles, this is the first time of running a business. This was a limited liability company with heavy responsibilities in paying rent, paying tax, paying workers, paying NIS, all these different things attached to it. So it was a big learning curve for me. Thank God I've weathered the storm and gone through it, as some persons may consider gracefully, but for me it was a lot to learn very quickly. And also because one of the mandates of the business was hiring persons between the ages of 17 to 25, you have a lot of youths who aren't just seeing you as that is my boss or that is my employer. They're actually seeing you and looking at you for mentorship and asking you questions about money management and actually having to give them advice and all these different things. So you have to keep that straight face, like you know what you're doing and what's going on, when really and truly you're screaming to the top of your lungs because you have to figure it out on your own. So that was just very, very tough. Thank God for mentorship and stuff, but mentorship goes so far. It's when you're in your room 1 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how am I going to balance my books. That's when it really hits you on, okay, cool, what am I doing?
I mean, this is so inspirational, huh? Really, really inspirational. Based on what you're saying here, I'm going to ask a question that is different to the type of questions we normally ask here. Given your background, a lot of people will say, boy, every time I try, something happening. How come you never resorted to crime and these things? How come you kept focused, basically? That's the question. How were you able to, no matter what, no matter how you think it's the end of the world, still being positive, still being disciplined, and still being able to follow that passion?
Yeah, I think a big part of my journey and has been from day one is that level of faith. I strongly believe in God. I remember that first night when I reached my apartment in St. Augustine and I looked up to the ceiling and I told God, I said, you did not bring me out here to suffer. And he stuck with me. I've continued to lean on my faith in getting through the tough times. It has not been easy. The other day I was an entrepreneur was actually asking me, could I give them some tips on how to navigate entrepreneurship? And in my mind, I was laughing because I have to go read books now in order to give people tips. Because for me, entrepreneurship was never about a passion. This wasn't, he wants to save the world and save the environment, so he's going to open a business to do that. This was, I need to survive.
Survival.
And that was the premise of starting. Here I was thrown in the middle of the ocean, splashing, trying to get back to shore. And then when I reached the shore, persons are asking me, tell us about your technique in the breaststroke. And I'm like, there was no technique. This was just doing whatever it took just to stay afloat and to reach back to land. So persons asking me now for tips. It's like, I need tips myself right about now because for me it was just survival, that guerrilla marketing, that's doing whatever it took. Sometimes a customer might come and it's $50 for a wash, but they find that too expensive, so you take a $30 for the wash because you're just looking to make that cash so you can make your ends meet. So it's been a tough road. I will definitely say that mental health and taking care of your mental health is very important. I did go through a very, very dark time in my entrepreneurial journey that had nothing to do with business. Just had to do with, people and family and all the other external stuff that does affect your business. And that has definitely taken me down to a very dark place. And now I take very special attention to taking care of my mental health even along this journey. For 3 years, I had no days off. I don't know what was a holiday. Even when we had holidays in Trinidad, I'm still grinding it out. And now I have to tell myself and force myself to rest. I went to Tobago a couple of months ago, told my guys, I said, I'm taking 4 days off. Don't call me, just don't burn down the place. And jumped on the boat, went up in the morning, when the boat was coming down at 4 o'clock, I was on that boat coming back because I just did not know how to rest and how to take a day off. So now I'm getting into that habit of forcing myself to not burn out and really taking care of my mental health. But it took a long while because I think your past traumas definitely affects your business. When you know what it feels like to be one meal away from feeling like you're starving or going homeless because your landlord wants to put you out, I think it really brings that level of paranoia of what if I reach back that place? Or what if I don't open today and I don't make enough money and I reach back to that place and business closed down and so forth. So faith has definitely been an important part, understanding the importance of protecting your mental health and dealing with your past traumas. Definitely dealing with your past traumas because that can definitely cause you to see life and your perspective on life from a pretty crazy place.
Well said, my brother. Well said, my brother. And on that note, I think it's a good time to take a short break and come back with so much more. Dareem Jeffrey, inspirational, empowering, motivational, resilient. Boy, oh boy, you're getting it all here on the Big Potato Podcast tonight. What a visionary. From Ibadan to Helyard, from slavery to independence, learn how Helyard, the Trinidad All-Stars, created the Trini identity and how that was leveraged for our independence. Get your copy on Amazon now. Welcome back to the Big Potato Podcast. Such an inspirational episode tonight. We have online Dareem Jeffrey, founder of EcoWash. But what we found out in the last segment is so much more than that. What a human being. Tremendous. Now, Dareem, let's just switch gears a little bit here and talk about innovation. Talk about product development as well. So your technology, I mean, we don't want to know your trade secrets, but you have a very innovative product and service. Tell us a little bit about the actual product itself and the development as such. We understand the journey you went through to get there, but the actual product now and the offering that you have to the market. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, EcoWash, it's an ecological car wash solution coupling water conservation technology with convenience to customers. The larger carts that persons know, it requires no infrastructure or drainage, no water or electrical connection, and all the solutions used in the business are eco-friendly and biodegradable. It's the only legal car wash in Trinidad and Tobago during periods of water restrictions, because as you know, it's illegal to wash a car to hose during those periods. And we're actually acknowledged and endorsed by the Ministry of Public Utilities and our Water and Sewage Authority. The machines itself, there's a proprietary polymer solution that I would have created, an OC polymer, O-CE, that once it's sprayed onto the vehicle, it does paint decontamination, emulsifies the dirt, creates a film between the dirt and the paint, that all that needs to be done after is simply wipe it off, promising you that showroom finish with no scratches. And to tell you the quality of the washes you get, we actually, for the last 13 months, we have been the service supplier for Answer McCall. So that's just to tell you the quality of the wash that you're going to get, knowing that Answer McCall is a car firm that deals with vehicles. We have numerous corporate clients also, but we have the brunt of the business right now has been that retail side of it, where we are offering the service to customers at convenient locations like C3 Mall, Gold City Mall, Shops of Trin City. Very soon you may see us in Eastgate Mall and West Mall, amongst other places in Trinidad. But we are an international business at this point.
And I mean, that is crazy to think about it, from very humble beginnings. Now, you mentioned earlier that the basis of the solution really came from a field form for chemistry experiment.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that in terms of how you were able now to pull it together and get it right, and what sort of assistance you would have needed or tech, I guess, in terms of bringing the actual solution together. Did you do that on your own, or you had to go through some other businesses or organizations to assist with that?
Yeah, I've definitely done it on my own. Ever so often you'll see me with a bucket and mixing my own products for my polymer solution. A lot of people tend to think and ask if I have a chemistry background or in a study, if I studied environmental sciences. I have CXC subjects. I have no degrees, I have no masters, I have no doctorates. I'm heavily based on and built on common sense, but also having a keen eye for challenges and problems that people face and looking at what really is the gist of the problem. One of the funny things with the business is that we in Trinidad did not know we had a problem when it comes to the car wash industry. The average car wash uses 180 liters of water to wash a vehicle. If each car in this country is washed just once a month, that's millions of liters of water wasted. I have never met someone that I've asked the question how much water we use in the car wash industry that could actually give me numbers of how much water it takes to wash a car. So it's a problem that we have never looked at, but it's a problem that actually adds to our water deficit in this country. So it was coming from Moruga, where our main source of water was standpipes and rivers, and hoping that water comes at least for a day every 2 weeks, to now coming in the east-west corridor, where a lot of persons don't even have water tanks in their yard because they're so assured that the pipe-borne supply of water will definitely always be there. So when I had now moved up to St. Augustine, I would take showers, sometimes 4 showers for the night, because we didn't have that liberty and, as I would state, luxury where I came from. At the age of 17 was the first time I saw Port of Spain and the Twin Towers. I did not leave Moruga in my early days. So at 17, first time seeing Port of Spain.
Crazy.
Also at 17 was the first time I had a hot and cold shower.
Wow.
Because though we had at that point pretty nice house at that point, had a lot of tanks in the yard, we just didn't have the constant supply of water to even fill the tanks. So the luxury of a hot and cold shower was never one that we could have experienced before. So it's coming up into an environment where I am growing increasingly frustrated because why it is that one sector could enjoy this liberty when we were deprived of it. And seeing for myself that this industry is heavily adding to that water deficit. And persons did not recognize it. Now, persons are opening their eyes to how much water is being wasted. And not only being wasted, but contaminated with harmful car wash chemicals sent into the waterways, destroying our biodiversity also.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, I have a question. How do you plan to maintain your market share? Meaning, okay, let's go by Porter's 5 forces, right? The threat of entry isn't really that low. It's kind of high. Anyone could really get a similar solution and enter the market. In terms of substitutes, I could wash my car at home. In terms of the competitiveness, there are a lot of different car wash options available. People have to value environmental solutions and be willing to pay, I guess, a premium price for that. You could correct me if I'm wrong. But generally, how do you plan to maintain that? I guess right now you have the full market share in terms of the eco solution.
Right.
But if I or someone else wants to import some similar chemicals or manufacture myself, you have to be able to maintain your spots and, push me off. So, you have any visions of that?
Yeah, I have. There's always that risk of somebody's trying to do some type of spin-off of your business. Because at the end of the day, what do they say, boy? Imitation is the best form of flattery. So of course, persons will look on and want to try to replicate. One of the things I've always come into business saying, I'm not here to compete. I'm here to collaborate. Of course, I want to be the best, but I'm here to collaborate. So you will never go on my social media page and see me one bar talking and next car wash, oh, watch how much water they're using. You will never see that. I bat in my own crease. I'm in my own lane, and I put forward my perks to using my service. Honestly, Trinidad has not been so big on utilizing this service because of the eco-friendliness of it. They have used this service based on the convenience of it. The convenience of parking your car anywhere in the car park in the mall, going to shop, and in 10 to 15 minutes coming back to a shiny new ride. That's what they love. So even in talking to persons about the service, we lead with convenience. So persons say, yes, I want my car washed. They come back to the car and then they're asking you, how come the ground dry and the car is clean? And then you say to them, well, I only use 2 liters of water. So it's leading with what they want to hear and what they are attracted to. Because telling a man who just spent a couple of hundreds of thousands on a ride that you're going to wash his car with 2 liters of water,
Left to be seen.
It's a hard sell. First thing they're going to think, oh, you're going to scratch my car and all these different things. Our polymer actually makes it impossible to scratch your car once you follow our technique. And we're the only car wash in Trinidad covered by insurance. We're covered by over 4 million insurance from day one, which we've never had to utilize because we don't scratch vehicles. One of the things I plan to do to maintain my market share, as I stated, it's about collaboration. I'm not here to close down our next car wash. I'm here to tell our next car wash there is a better way. You could utilize my machines or you can buy into my franchise. And that way we are allowing ourselves to scale even quicker and not become a threat in the market. Because this is not a game of I want to be the biggest man on top of the mountain. I think me actually competing with other car washes could actually encourage crime possibly, because then you're closing down the next man's business, and I'm not in business to close down the next man's business. I'm in a business to do business with other people. So that's why this year I actually downsized my pod, the big large EcoWash pod that can wash 20 vehicles before you need to refill it, to now a small handheld pod that can wash 5 cars, and you can take it anywhere. It's built out of recyclable plastics. It's totally solar powered. And by the end of 2025, we're actually working to give out 1,000 of our machines all through the Caribbean to youths, where they can go to their friends and family's house, wash their cars, make some cash. Because as I stated, in the last 2 years, we've hired over 53 youths. We've assisted over 9 youths in graduating with a bachelor's degree. Because going to university, sometimes you may only have 1 day free for the week. And no employer wants to hire somebody just for 1 day for the week. But EcoWash allows you to come work with us for that 1 day, giving you extra cash in your pocket, allowing you to start your own entrepreneurial ventures by starting your own micro franchise with us while receiving the system and support from the team. So we are scaling the business not just to be profitable, but to empower other people to not become millionaires, but to change their socioeconomic bracket, possibly moving from poverty to maybe then lower or middle class.
This is very, very refreshing. You hear the purpose, Kendell? Here to collaborate.
Yeah.
Traditionally, what they will tell you, you're not here to compete, you're here to dominate. Dareem isn't here to dominate, he's here to collaborate. Refreshing.
And you could dominate while collaborating. You could be, and one of my mantras in business, and I live by this, it goes like this: you don't dig for gold, you sell shovels. I am not here to sweat. I'm here to provide the resources for other people. And if you receive some maybe small commission off of it, then great. What we're doing right now in EcoWash is developing our own EcoWash line of products. So our own degreasers and glass cleaners and all these different things. So when I give these machines to youths, I may give it to them free or at a very low cost. But then on a subscription basis, you're buying my products. So I'm still making money and remaining financially sustainable, but yet I'm empowering other persons and lowering that barrier of entry to actually starting a business. Because business is expensive, but if you can give somebody a turnkey model, then what more could you ask for?
Fantastic. And I mean, this is exactly what we talk about when we say empowering entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. providing those opportunities and allowing for it to blossom and grow collectively and really collectively dominating the market. Now, Dareem, you spoke a lot about collaboration. You spoke a lot about persons who would have helped you along the way, mentors. You mentioned some different persons there, companies, corporate entities, and so on. Tell us a little bit about your networking process as a humble youth from Moruga, South Trinidad and Tobago, to elevating into the echelons of talking to different, I guess, statesmen and women. How has that process been for you, and what has it been like? What key tips you could give to other young persons in terms of that element of networking?
Yeah, there's a script in the Bible that says your gift will make room for you. And for the first 2 years, or maybe 2.5 years of EcoWash, nobody knew your name. You were just in your own little world washing cars. And then persons started to pay notice. I remember an agency came to me and said, you're saving water. I didn't even know I was saving water. I just knew I eliminated the water aspect because at that point in time, I needed to operate at the malls. But then persons started to pay notice to it. I am connected to a lot of persons who are, say, business moguls and these things because I wash their vehicles. So you have all these multi-millionaires who own stores at the malls, and when they come to visit their stores, I'm the one washing their cars.
Right.
And they're fascinated about the process. And that's how I started to broaden my network, because persons, one, utilize the service. Apart from just utilizing the service, they realized it was a quality service. So it's not just he's washing cars, but you're getting that premium wash with it. As I stated before, I am naturally introverted. So I'm not one of them who is going to run up to anybody to shake their hand and so forth. But I understood that I needed to become certain things and a person that my business needed me to be. Not disingenuous or not my genuine self, but you need to be outspoken sometimes in order to get your business out there. And it wasn't me naturally, but I am growing into that person that my business needs me to be. I am understanding that more and more that I'm the CEO of this company. And yet you might be the quiet, docile type of person, but sometimes you need to fire somebody. And naturally, that's not me, but that needs to become me because that's what the CEO of the company requires me to. So definitely starting to put myself out there more. I would say I'm a serial networker. So I'm always at these networking events, shaking hands. I think people are fed up of seeing me in my branded EcoWash polo. But as I always say to myself, if I have a brand, why must I wear next man brand on my chest when I could wear my own brand?
Ah, boy.
And have people ask me questions. Hey, tell me what's EcoWash? Even when I'm flying out of the country, persons on the plane will be like, what's EcoWash? So it's a conversation starter. So even though I'm not the type of person who is out there and up in front of your face, I've learned certain tips and techniques and tricks, just like with my uniform, of how to get the conversation started when I'm not brave enough to start the conversation. So having a big machine and that looks like a helicopter is a conversational starter. Having a branded polo, we can be in the most high end of networking events. Everybody's wearing suit. Dareem Jeffrey is in a black polo with EcoWash on the chest and the Trinidad Tobago flag on the side on the arms. Because that has worked for me. So until that day comes where I don't have to introduce myself, they will forever see me in that black polo.
Keep wearing it, bro.
You gotta brand yourself and support yourself.
You have to definitely be your biggest brand ambassador. And once you put in the work, people will notice. They may not acknowledge you now, though I've won a lot of international awards. It was the first time 2 weeks ago at the National Youth Awards that my country acknowledged me on that level. And I'm going to Kenya next week. I'm in the top 3 for Global Entrepreneur of the Year in the world. And I told them, I said, I don't even need to go to Kenya. The fulfillment I feel to just know that my country recognizes the hard work I've put in is more than enough for me. I don't need foreigners to clap when, your own people at home is recognizing you.
Now, let me ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
There are four main drivers that will drive demand for the product you're offering. One will be the consumer disposable income. One will be the number of new vehicle registrations, the amount of vehicles on the road. Another will be consumer confidence in the economy. The last one will be fuel cost. The lower the cost, the more people driving. The more people driving, the more the cars get dirty, the more they need a car to look clean. So, of these drivers, which ones have you, in your estimation, determined to be the most impactful for your business?
I would definitely say the consumer's disposable income.
Mm-hmm.
I think it shows, one, during COVID, I had to start off at a very low price because when you're at the mall and you're so close to the grocery in the mall, you're pretty much giving people the choice: do I want to buy a tin of peas or do I want to wash my car? And they will always buy the tin of peas. So we had to come in at such a low cost in order to make the choice such a no-brainer for customers. But then it shows also that our serious surge in persons booking their washes happened at month end. As soon as that pay hits, a man is coming for a car clean.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have that cash, and it shows that, okay, persons may not have that liberty to spend money on a car wash frequently during the month, but when that salary hit that bank and that bird land,
When that eagle land.
you're in front with door knocking on the keys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a sense, it's sort of a full circle moment for us as well as Stuart, because if I remember correctly, one of the first projects we worked on was Heat Wave.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Which, for the audience's benefit and Dareem's benefit, actually was a team car wash at the time. So I guess he was also trying to appeal to a particular niche. And it's really funny, how life happens, that we have in this conversation in 2024. I think that project would have been back in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 years ago, more than 9 years ago. Changes happen in the market, in the economy. That was well before COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
But he was onto something as well. And there's a reason I bring that up, because as an entrepreneur, you have a vision. You understand where you want to go. But what I like about this conversation is that you have always looking at what the customer's problem is.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, if it's one tip I will give to entrepreneurs when it comes to customers and your service, you need to be customer obsessed. You must have a weird obsession with your customers.
Mm-hmm.
You must be thinking, how could I make this experience even better for them? Persons always talk about how our customer service is so good at EcoWash, but yet we will continuously do customer service training of how could we make that experience in booking that car wash even better. Persons will usually drive into the car park, they'll wave at us, we'll follow them to wherever they park, and we can wash the car wherever they parked it there. And that's a seamless process. But we are right now doing some brainstorming of how could we make that even easier for them?
Mm-hmm.
How could we maybe just have a QR code that they scan on their keychain and they can book it via that, so they don't have to go through the struggle of winding down their glass.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they don't have a problem with it, my thing is you have to be obsessed with your customers. You must know their birthdays. You must memorize their cars. You come to book a wash by me and I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. You must be able to walk up to my kiosk and I must say, alright, you're the black X-Trail PDY with the little funny scratch by the bumper at the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how obsessed you must be with it. Of course, not weirdly obsessed, but you get the point.
Yeah.
That's so important, so important in business, because people say as a businessman you make money. You don't make money in business. If you make money, you'll get locked up because that's illegal. What you do is you convince other people to give you their money. And if you want to convince other people, you must befriend these other people. You must make it such a no-brainer that they want to give you their money. And of course, it's a trade-off. It's business. You provide a service, they give you their money. But you must make it to the point where they are happy to support you and hand over that cash as far as I see it. So you don't make money. You convince people to give you their money. And you must make it worthwhile for them. They're paying for a service. You must under promise and over deliver. And that's one of the things that's ingrained in the mind of my team. If I go down to say C3 or Gulf City and say pull the point of sale system, say for example, we were supposed to make $10 and I'm seeing that we only have $9 in cash. If I ask my workers, why am I only seeing $9 when the system is saying it should be 10? And one of my workers says to me, well, Miss Hazel came across today and she booked her wash, but she was looking a little sad. So we told her, you know what, you wash on the house as a way to cheer her. That's the end of that conversation. I'm not going to question them on why they made that move because they understood that one of the premise of the business is that the customers are why we are. And they are our main focus in providing that high quality service. And once you do that, man, they're going to be your biggest ambassadors. You will never go to C3 Gulf City, Shops at Trinity, any of my locations, and you will never see the word car wash anywhere around my kiosk. Nowhere in C3 would say car wash because one, we're oversubscribed. So the workload is so much that we don't even want persons to don't have a car wash because we have a lot of work to do when the day comes. But it just goes to show that we don't even have to market ourselves. Our customers go to tell people about us. You have people coming to wash your car and say, well, Janice told me that I have to come by you guys and only to wash my car by you all. So I think when you become obsessed about that customer experience, you are actually creating hundreds and thousands of ambassadors for your business that you don't even have to pay for.
And that's right, because we had that same conversation with Lorenzo.
Yep.
And each employee is supposed to be a customer service expert.
Yep.
Making sure the customer experience is on point at all times, which will result in more profitability.
Yep.
So it all ties up. I mean, you saying that they just have CXC and they have no... Let me tell you something.
The man could go in the place and lecture. He could go in our favorite place. I don't want to call the name. He could go in our favorite place.
Yeah.
Down there in Mount Hope. And lecture.
But if he opens up a Mullins or something, he will see the same things he's speaking about.
Yep.
Printed there.
Yep.
You're already doing what you're supposed to do, brother. Believe that. You spoke about the customers as well. Making it easy for the customer is the key, based on what you're saying there as well, So even like booking apps. To do the books, you said QR codes, but an app, maybe a little bit too much, but I know people have been using that solution in different regions as well. And also membership and subscription-based models. Are those some things that you plan to incorporate to push customer loyalty?
Yeah. I am actually been attending a lot of these tech events and talking. Crazy enough, a lot of people in my circle now are actually people in tech because I'm trying to mesh tech and digitalization with the car wash industry, making it easy for people, making that customer journey so seamless for them. I think one of the issues that we do have in the realm of innovation is persons tend to get very comfortable where they are. So I'm washing a car with 2 liters of water. Nobody can compete with that. So I'm done. I stop innovating. That's not for me. I'm washing cars with 2 liters of water. Yes, other people are using over 100 liters, but I'm challenging myself. How could I get this down to 1 liter of water? Yeah, you're competing against yourself. And I think a lot of businesses tend to try to compete with the next business. You're supposed to compete with yourself. You must innovate past what you've done in the last year or whatever. So for me, it's becoming my own worst enemy while being my own best friend when it comes to how far do we go with this thing.
Well said, because I mean, it is overlooked by even larger corporations, R&D. Your R&D department and reinvesting into your R&D is hugely important, and that's what we're hearing here from you as well. Now, I just had one more question that I'm going to go with tonight, because I mean, literally, we have covered so many bases. Such a great episode here tonight. So, in terms of your business and EcoWash, we heard you mention going to Kenya. Tell us a little bit about some of the global aspects of your business and your expansion and so on thus far, and what that process has been like.
Yeah, I've traveled once in my life, and that would have been when I was around maybe 12 or 13. And that was a church mission trip to Suriname. Outside of that, I've never traveled. I've never jumped on a plane. And the first time I jumped on a plane was last year, May 10th actually. And it was to go and compete in Colombia for the top innovation in the Americas. First time jumping on a plane, nervous. I've never competed outside of Trinidad. Still only have one location, which was C3. And I went out there not to compete per se, but I was just excited to, you're jumping on a plane, you get to see a next country and so forth. And I was practicing like crazy. I didn't sleep the night before. I was pitching in front of the mirror. And didn't sleep the night before and went to pitch. And at the closing ceremony, they were announcing top innovation in the Americas. And I'm just there minding my own business, playing on my phone and so forth. And all I heard was Dareem Jeffrey from Trinidad, EcoWash. And I'm stunned because I was so nervous and not thinking that I was at that level to compete with the rest of the countries in the Americas. And these are hundreds of businesses competing. Because here I am from Trinidad, I just washing cars. At the end of the day, people will say, it's just a car wash. So, and then you have people from all over the Americas, from Colombia, from Brazil, from Paraguay, all these places that's coming with tech businesses. And a lot of times, persons in the environmental businesses are very insecure when it comes to competing with tech businesses, because tech businesses are the unicorns and the big billion-dollar businesses. So I'm not even thinking of myself as a competition. I'm not even listening to the other pitches. I don't even go to the other rooms because, one, I'm minding my own business to make sure that I'm prepared because I'm nervous. And two, listening to the other pitches, I just knew that it was going to dampen how I felt about my own pitch. So when I won, I was totally shocked. I didn't even wear a suit to the event. I just wore a normal white shirt because, you're not even expecting to go up on stage and you're not thinking of yourself as anybody. And winning in Colombia, top innovation in the Americas, I was charged with the responsibility to go to Switzerland at World Congress to compete against Africa, Asia, the Asian Pacific, and 140 countries from around the world. Thousands of businesses represented there, packing out a stadium. And while in Switzerland competing, and at the closing ceremony, they're announcing top innovation in the world, and the person who came second, the person who I thought was going to come first, he ran a tech business, and his business in that year alone had revenues of over 300 million US dollars passing through that business.
Wow.
And he came second. So I'm like, who beat this man? Who beat this juggernaut from Germany? And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I feel it's this other guy from China or Korea who took the first place. And they said, and the winner of top innovation in the world or whatever they said, Dareem Jeffrey.
Wow.
And I am shocked.
Blown away, right?
Because here is this little black boy from Moruga, washing cars, minding his own business, never jumped on a plane before. Now you are flying around the world. You're in Switzerland and a stadium of people looking at you with the Trinidad and Tobago flag in your hand, walking across that stage, and that was crazy for me. So in the last 12 months, we've competed in 19 international competitions. We've come first in all 19 of them. We've never lost a competition since the inception of EcoWash. Winning things like the Green Leaf Award, EMA's top award for climate action and education, Green Entrepreneur of the Year with Netco, Youth of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year. Now we're going to Kenya next month. Well, not next month. We're going to Kenya this weekend. We're in the top 3 for Global Entrepreneur of the Year. We've been acknowledged all over the world. A month ago, we were acknowledged and awarded a token at the House of Lords in London. By the end of this year, with the agreements that's on the table, just waiting for me to put my signature on it, we will have 23 locations in 9 countries around the world, 6 of them being in Africa, Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ghana, to name a few. And that'll be a total of 11 locations in Africa. I went to the trade mission with the Ministry of Trade in Ghana in March of this year, and we were able to negotiate an agreement with the largest car firm over there, washing approximately 700 cars a day for them. So for me, as I was telling you before, when it comes to youths taking risk, because they understand the international market, it's only through traveling I realized that it's not just Trinidad that has a water issue. The world has a water issue. The world has over 1.4 billion cars on the roads. Every year, 85 million cars are put on the roads of the world. If each car is washed just once every 2 weeks, that's over 6 trillion liters of water. 6 trillion liters of water is enough water to give every human being on this planet 2 liters of water for every day of this year. That's the amount of water being wasted in the car wash industry. So we don't have a water issue. We have a management issue. And the more I fly, the more you have persons reaching out saying, we need this in our country. Guadeloupe wants me to ship 100 machines over to them. You have international agencies saying, Dareem, we're willing to finance and give you grants to expand this all over the world. Because it's answering a major problem for the world. So for me, when you ask the question of how far am I wanting to go and so forth, my thing is I am at this point in too deep. But I thank God for the fact that I'm starting to enjoy the business. But I believe in that saying of, if you don't do it, it will never get done for the rest of eternity. So if I don't save water in the car wash industry, my mindset is they will never for the rest of the world and the existence of this world save water in the car wash industry. So for me, I see it as a big burden on my shoulders, but definitely the encouragement and the support of my customers and different ministries and individuals have made it a bit of a lighter burden to carry.
Congratulations on everything, brother. Now, I will just wrap up because, again, as Kendell said, you've covered it all. We really didn't have to ask much questions tonight. But I will end with how I started, with what caught my eye, based on what you were saying there. You know, this little boy from Moruga, why they will take my eye there on. But what caught my eye was this little university in Barbados, Caveville, and the accomplishment with the seaweed, powering the vehicle with seaweed as opposed to the solar energy. So that's about us in the Caribbean just suffering and not able to add value to the world. You know, we've been in the Caribbean, as Paul said 2 episodes ago. That is our superpower, our Caribbeanness, our perspective from on the fence, observing everything around. So I again congratulate you, brother. It's a huge accomplishment, especially to be able to generally franchise what you have created across the world, internationally. So it's a huge accomplishment, and it's a good thing we did the episode tonight, because by next year we can't talk to you.
No, but it is what I'm saying. This man booked up, heavily booked up.
He's all in.
Yeah. It has been a pleasure, Dareem. It has been so real. More than anything else,
Very inspiring.
We talk a lot of the textbook theory, and the best practices and all the great stuff that you should do based on, what people went through and they deem as their best practices. But in terms of the reality of the situation and really hitting home, I think that this is one of the best episodes yet in terms of that reality. And I thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And
thank you guys for having me.
We are extremely proud of you to be one of our own from Trinidad and Tobago, mm-hmm. and creating waves, literally creating waves with 2 liters of water, one wash at a time. And we hope to see many, many, many more EcoWash franchises all across the world. We know that you have plans for expansion, not just with franchises, but also with products and other development. And I have no doubt, based on what I've heard here tonight, in terms of the individual behind this business and behind these ideas, that it's going to be successful.
And that's it. People invest in people.
People invest in
and
people.
If I had $1 trillion, I invest in heavily in Dareem, because the character, the background in the church, the understanding of being grounded, keeping your feet on the ground, aiming for the sky. Yeah, I would invest in that. So the world is open to you, brother.
So Dareem, before we wrap up, I can't even ask for more inspiration, but any words that you would like to leave the audience with, the young people with tonight?
Yeah, I definitely want to say to youths, or people in general, take the risk. Take the risk. I think one of the things that adds to my humility is that I started with $28 and a dream, and you have persons out here with way more resources and such a stronger support system, and scared to take the risk. Take the risk. And even if persons don't believe in your dream, it's your dream at the end of the day, and do it. Knock it out of the park. Don't do it to prove them wrong. Do it to prove yourself right.
Fantastic words. Thank you so much again, Dareem Jeffrey, CEO, founder, entrepreneur extraordinaire, EcoWash, my friends. Get familiar with the name, get familiar with the brand, just in case you didn't know. When you see them out there, pop your horn and give them an opportunity. I'm certain you would not be disappointed. Our very own from Trinidad and Tobago, and as he said, the top recognition in his life that he's received in terms of all the awards he received. National Youth Award winner for 2024. Congratulations and all the best to you on your journey.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Dareem.
And that's how we wrap it up tonight. The Big Potato Podcast. Stuart and Kendell, we have been inspired tonight, I could tell you that.
Very much so.
And I hope that you guys felt it as well. So until next time, get your car washed.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendell and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up, take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.